Hey guys, welcome back to Small Talk, small conversations with huge impact. My name is Alec Cuenca and I'm your host. And in this channel, we talk about motivation, inspiration, anything that could help you with your journey towards self-improvement. Now, I am so excited for this episode. This is actually going to be uploaded on my podcast, which I am always uploading the episodes. But in this episode, we are also going live, or we're uploading this on YouTube. So if you are watching on YouTube, hi, hello. Comment down below and let me know your thoughts about this episode. And in this episode, we are going to talk about something that I have been doing recently. And I've shared this in my group coaching session called the Better Me Project. It's a weekly group coaching session every Mondays, 8 p.m. So if you want to join that, click the link in the description box below. Today, we are going to talk about the 5 pillars of peak productivity. And let's start with number 1. The first one is called the destruction of distractions. We live in a constant state of distractions. Everywhere we look, at our phones, outside, even inside our heads, we are always constantly being tempted to be distracted. And so in becoming productive, we need to learn how to set boundaries and say no to the things that are not relevant to the things that we're pursuing. There's a quote that says, the only time that you can say yes to the things that matter is when you can say no to the things that don't. And I believe that you can start off being productive when you start destroying the distractions that are available to you. In understanding how to eliminate distractions, we need to understand the term cognitive bandwidth. And cognitive bandwidth is our mental capacity to make decisions, to avoid distractions, and to stay committed in whatever the task that we are doing. It's our mental threshold on how much we can make decisions throughout the day. And so cognitive bandwidth, it has 2 terms, right? Cognitive, of course, it speaks to our mind. It speaks about our brain. Bandwidth is basically the allotment. It's the space that we have here. And there's this study that showed that we have certain cognitive bandwidth every single day. And so if we can't manage the capacity that we have, it's like when you have a computer, right? You have this random access memory, RAM. And when you overload it, it won't be able to make anything that you want to do with it, right? It'll hit a blue screen, it'll freeze, it'll stop. And so that's the same with our brain. The moment that it reached its maximum capacity, we won't be able to use it as much as we want it to. And in being productive, it's important that we are able to maximize the use of our brains. Back in the 1950s, there was this era where we can actually produce more food than we actually needed. This was the first time that humankind have experienced this kind of situation. Back before, way back before, we needed to hunt. We needed to go outside. We needed to work hard for us to feed ourselves. But in the 1950s, we've reached a point where we can actually produce more food than we actually needed. And so when this happened, everyone was just like eating and eating and eating and eating. And there was an increase of people who's getting illnesses and diseases. The risk of getting diabetes rose up. The risk of getting a heart attack, the risk of getting a stroke. That's what happened in the 1950s. And I think we're reaching a point that we're having a similar situation with that. But not just with the things that we're physically consuming, but also what we're consuming mentally. Every single day, we're on our phones. We have access to information and data that we could never, ever possibly consume or put inside our brain as much as we wanted to. There was a study that said the previous 3 years to 5 years have produced information that is more than the information produced or shared in the previous decades. And that's really crazy because now we have an unlimited source of data and information and knowledge at the tip of our hands. And so it's the same thing with our diets or with the junk food era. When we have this option to just consume anything that we want, we go there and we try to consume as much as we can. But the thing is, that's unlimited. You won't be able to get everything that our social media is presenting to us. In the 1970s, there was a revolution around the fitness industry where they said, wait, we can't do this anymore. We can't just keep on eating and eating. And so, that was the time where people started to realize that we need to take care of our diet. We need to take care of what we consume. We need to limit ourselves because the food is unlimited. And so we need to find a way to decrease the number of people getting sick. So what happened is the fitness industry revolutionized. A lot of people are pushing for people getting healthy, people sticking with the diet, people not stress eating or binge eating or eating too much. And people were starting to realize, okay, we need to chill down on this and we need to take care of our bodies. We can also do that for our minds. We can also do that for our mental health. If we can stick with the diet for our physical consumption, we can also stick with the diet for our mental consumption. And there's this concept called the attention diet, where you basically filter out the things that you're consuming on the internet. I learned this concept from Mark Manson, and Mark Manson shared that there are a lot of benefits of doing an attention diet. Some of the benefits include less anxiety, higher productivity, being present in the moment, more free time, and not supporting the destructive incentives of the ad-driven online clickbait machine. I really love the last part because a lot of people don't notice this, but social media is made for us to stay there. They study our psychology, they study what we like, what our preferences are, and they keep on showing the things that would keep us using their platforms. And so this culture of clickbaits and ad-driven online machines, it's really dangerous for our mental health. But of course, just like feeding ourselves or sticking with a diet for our bodies, we can stick with a diet for our minds. What can you include in your attention diet plan? Here are 3 ways for you to do that. The first one is cut all the bullshit. Cut all the BS. You know that if you eat too much junk food, you'll become unhealthy. If you drink too much soda, you'll become unhealthy. Do that with your mental consumption. Cut down all the negativity that comes inside your brain. Cut down anything that is not really helping your mental capacity, that is just distracting you from your task and your productivity. One way that you could do this is to try a purge with the people that you're following and the friends that you have online. No hard feelings. You can cut off people online and still be friends with them offline. You can unfollow people or mute people or block people whose, if it destroys your peace, it's not worth it. So you need to cut them off. Again, if you can say no to the things that don't matter, we can say yes to the things that does. Once we learn how to cut all the BS, now we can feed ourselves with the things that could help us. And that leads me to my second part of the healthy diet plan or the attention diet plan, which is to add more healthy information or increase your healthy sources of information. Of course, you still need to be updated. You still need to feed your mind. Social media is a great tool for you to learn more about things. And so why don't you just focus on the things that actually benefits you, that helps you with your productivity? Find people who radiates positivity. Find people who shares all good vibes and can help you with the tasks that you need to do, and follow them and consume their content as much as you can. Again, as we said, the more that you add positive content into your life, you won't realize that you're actually not spending time on the negative ones that affect your mental health, that uses your cognitive bandwidth. And now you have more space for you to do the things that you need to do. The third thing that you can add in your attention diet is to use technology deliberately. The phones that we have, it's important that we use our phones, not let our phones use us. So one way that you could do this is to check how are you using your phones. Go check your screen time right now and just look at how many hours are you actually spending on social media. Now, to be fair, of course, a lot of people, they have their work online, so it's okay for you to spend time online if you're using it for work. But if you check your screen time, you can actually see that you are spending more time than you'd actually want on the things that doesn't really help you with your productivity. So it's a great way for you to check, am I being deliberate? Am I being conscious enough when I'm using the apps that I'm using? And then now you can readjust. Okay, I'm using too much Instagram. I'm using too much Netflix. I'm spending too much time on reading blogs or watching TikToks. Now I can adjust my priorities, and then that could free up some time and some energy and some space in your cognitive bandwidth. Now you can become more productive. The second pillar of peak productivity is called the Gargantuan advantage. This is a concept introduced by Robin Sharma, and I've read it in the 5 a.m. Habit and the Everyday Hero Manifestation. Great books, I highly recommend. And the Gargantuan is basically an advantage of the giants. Okay, the Gargantuan means giants, strong people. And it turns out that people who are titans in their industries have the certain advantage that you can adapt in your life as well. And it's important that we stay better because that's the only time that we can actually grow. And if we want to grow, we got to become bigger and we got to become like giants, like the Titans. So, what are the ways that you can have this gargantuan advantage? The first one is workout. The start of optimizing your productivity begins when you start optimizing your health. I have been working out for a consistent 2 months, and I can say that I have been very productive because once I work out the first thing in the morning or in the morning, now I know that any tasks that I need to do, I can do it. There's a lot of science that says that it really helps with your mental health, and it also frees up your cognitive bandwidth when you're working out. Now, for you, there are a lot of benefits of working out. It relieves stress, it combats fatigue, it activates the human growth hormone. Another one is it activates neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity is a part of your brain where it actually expands when you start working out, and that is the sole part of our brain which is responsible for learning and growing. So when we work out, we're actually learning and we're actually growing as a person. And lastly, of course, you look good. So if you want to look good, if you want to feel better about yourself, start working out. The second way for you to have that gargantuan advantage is to start a gratitude list. We're so good at focusing on the bad things and the bad events. We're so good at dwelling and worrying about previous mistakes that we did. Back in the ape era, when we had to survive, we were basically in survival mode. We can't just focus on the good stuff. We can't just bask in the sunlight because we need to prepare for ice age or any animals that might kill us. But the life that we have right now, it's not that dangerous. It's not that risky. So we don't actually need to use that part of our brain where it prioritizes fear, where it tells us, no, you should stay put, you should worry on that negativity. But it needs some rewiring for you to do that. So what you can do is start with a gratitude list. Every single day, write down 10 things that you're grateful for. The third one is to be a student. Dedicate 1 hour of your day to learn. This will help you be ahead with your competition. And this will help you become a better leader, become a better worker, become a better person. Because the more that you read topics, the more that you'll understand, you still have a lot of things to know. And when you continuously study them, now you can make better decisions for yourself and for the people around you. The third pillar for peak productivity is called forced productivity. Here is when you force yourself to be productive. You have no other choice but to be productive. If we always wait for motivation to come, sometimes it won't come and sometimes you won't be productive. But if we can force ourselves to become productive, even we're not motivated, even if we're not inspired, then that just puts us ahead of the curve. There are 3 ways for you to force your productivity. The first one is to pay for the thing that you want to do. So for example, you want to become more active in the gym. You want to work out. Why don't you enroll in a gym that's really expensive? So now you are forced to actually go to the gym because you paid for that. If you enroll in a course, choose the most expensive course so that you'll be forced to study it. A lot of people, when they're doing stuff for free and they're not really releasing any money, there's no pressure for them to do that. But if you invest yourself and you pay for it, exchange your money for it, you'll be forced to become productive. The second one is build a bubble. Make sure that you isolate yourself, have a time and space for yourself without any distractions. And you tell yourself when you're inside the bubble, the only time that you get out of the bubble is when you're finished with your task. Remove all the distraction. Put a do not disturb on your door and make sure that you are in this bubble where you can just focus on the task that you need to do. And it doesn't need to be isolated here inside your room. You can be outside. You can rent a room in your hotel. You can go to the coffee shop and build your own mental bubble so that you just focus on the thing that you're doing. The third one is find an accountability partner. When you want to be productive, never do it alone. Share it with someone who also holds you accountable, who also wants to be productive. And so now it's not just you that you're going to fail if you don't do the thing that you're supposed to do. Now your pride is on the line. Now your ego is on the line. So when you share that with your accountability partner, they can help you in your progress of becoming productive. The fourth pillar of peak productivity is called the 5-hour highlight. So back in the days, So we live in a culture of grind and hustle, work 24/7, right? But that concept, or even just like working for 8 hours, that's a concept that we adapted just in the recent years when industries or factories started to blow up. But before that, when it was in the land era, or I don't know what's the term for it, but when people are actually working on their lands, there were no time in or time out. When the sun is up, they just know that they have to work. They didn't have to be working at exactly 7 a.m. or 6 a.m. or 8 a.m. They just know that when the sun is there, they'll work for it. And then when the industries and the factories boomed in the industrial revolution, a lot of companies adapted this method of you gotta go in, you gotta work by 8 o'clock and finish by 5 o'clock. But there are a lot of researches that actually showed that you just need 5 hours of total focus for you to do meaningful and efficient work. You don't need to spend 8 hours or 10 hours. In fact, the more hours that you spend on it, the more that you'll become less efficient. The more that you'll not produce the best work that you could actually produce. That's why the fourth pillar of productivity, and I use this as well, is when you're planning for tomorrow, just look at the one highlight of your day, the one meaningful work that you would do so that you can call yourself productive. And when you decide that that's going to be your highlight, you focus on that for 5 hours without any distractions, where you're just working hard on it. And I'm telling you, after that, you'll feel better about yourself because now you know that the day didn't just pass by. Plus, the work that you actually did and the output that you actually have is much, much better than where you're just forcing yourself and working nonstop for 24/7. Another tip that I could share with you is please design your day. Every single day, design it. And don't worry about the next week or even just focus on tomorrow. Design it. Become intentional with the things that you're about to do when you wake up. What time will you wake up? What time will you eat breakfast? What time will you start your personal ritual? What time will you rest? Become intentional with and design your day according to the highlight that you want to finish. Schedule everything. The tasks that you schedule are the tasks that get done. So if it's not in your schedule, it won't get done. I get a lot of people when they say that I'm not productive today. So when I ask them, well, what do you need to do today? And they're gonna say, oh, well, I had to do this. No, let me see your schedule. Because if it's not on your schedule, then your body is not attracted to finishing it or to doing it. So you got to make sure that it is in your schedule and you are intentional with the thing that you're doing. The fifth pillar for peak productivity is called the nothingness practice. I am a huge fan of this practice. People think that when you're doing nothing, you are unproductive. But rest is not an option. It's a necessity. For us to reach our maximum potential in terms of our productivity, then we need to take care of our bodies and our minds and our hearts and our souls. And the only way to do that is if we actually set time to do nothing and to focus on that, not focus on work. You're working 6 days out of 7 days. Why not give that one day for you to just rest, to do nothing? And you know what I found out in my personal experience? The more that I do nothing, the more that I actually become more creative, and the more that I become more productive, and I become more motivated and inspired to do the work because I just did nothing. Now I need to produce work. So when I say you do nothing, I'm not saying that you should just do nothing, right? There are a lot of different ways for you to do that. The first one is spend time with your family. You're working 6 days in a week. Why not give that day to spend time with the people that you love? A lot of people are saying they're working hard for their family. And then when they have the chance to spend time with their family, they're not using it. What's the point? Isn't that a little bit ironic? Why not spend a day to just spend time with the people that you love? It'll help you replenish your heart. It'll help you clear your mind. And it helps you become more alive, which feeds your soul. Second one is to plan trips. Trips abroad, trip to the beach, trip to the mountains, trip to the supermarket. Just enjoy a fresh view, a new perspective. Understand that life is not just about being productive. Life is also about living. So go out on trips. The third way is to read books. And not just self-help books, but also fiction books. When I read fiction books, it expands my creativity. It helps me become more imaginative. And therefore, it can help me become more productive since I am always thinking most of the time in my work. And maybe you need that as well. Read books that can freshen up your perspective, that can give you a new horizon, expand your view. And spend time for your friendships. We're all social beings. It's not just enough that we are working for ourselves, that we become selfish for ourselves. It's important that we share different memories and create bonds that we can actually appreciate along the journey. Catch up with a friend, spend a few hours texting or video calling your friend. I don't know about you guys, but the more that I spend time with my friends, the more that I have good times with them, I then focus my work on becoming productive every single time that I need to, because I know that when it's time to have fun, I'll have fun. When it's time to be productive, I'll be productive. The fifth one is, of course, just rest. You can literally do nothing just by resting. And when you rest, so again, rest is not an option. Rest is a necessity. Rest is not a luxury. Rest is important. So just rest. Be intentional with your rest. Be intentional with doing nothing. So those are the 5 pillars for peak productivity. Number 1 is the destruction of distractions. Number 2 is the gargantuan advantage. Number 3 is the forced productivity. Number 4 is the 5-hour highlight. Number 5 is the nothingness practice. So that's it for this podcast episode. If you like this one, go ahead and share this with the people that you love. Do not forget to tag me at Alec Cuenca. I love reading all of your insights, and I just love chatting with you guys. I read every single one of them. So thank you so much for all of your love and support. If you love this, please go to my YouTube channel and subscribe. It'll help me a lot. And yeah, thank you so much for listening. This is Alec Cuenca. This is Small Talk, Small Conversations with Huge Impact. And I'll talk to you guys next episode. Peace.